All right, let's take a close look at this etude, which features the chord progression to Windows by Chick Corea. So we have, this is a nice song because we have long stretches of the same chord. So for example, the first whole section of this is just 4 chords: B minor 7 to G sharp half diminished into F sharp minor 7, D7 sus 4, and then we have a nice 8-bar section of E major 7 sharp 11. So that gives us a lot of room to stretch out and explore some voicings that we can build from the minor pentatonic scale, the major pentatonic scale, one and the same depending on how we're thinking about it, as well as a Khomoi pentatonic scale. So let's take one section at a time and then we'll break it down. Looking at the first 4 bars, we have B minor, and I think in this particular case, we'll just assume that this is more or less a B Dorian tonality using that chord scale. So you can think in one of 2 ways. You can think B minor pentatonic or D major pentatonic. I think most guitar players, most of us tend to revert things to minor, so let's just go with that. So if we were just taking our time-honored and deeply loved minor pentatonic scale, we have this. There it is, B minor pentatonic. So all we're doing is stacking intervals using notes from that scale. And as I mentioned in the overview of the concept, you get some really nice interval combinations because of the skips that are an inherent part of this scale. So all of a sudden we have one chord voicing might be stacked in thirds, but then the next one will feature fourths and seconds. And that's exactly what's happening here. So our first voicing is this. And, right out of the gate, that sounds kind of interesting and unique because it has this B minor 11-ish type of quality, but instead of just reverting to this B minor 7 or that, or even a B minor 9, we've got something, kind of unique with this. And then we're just moving up through that B minor pentatonic scale. And each one of those notes is supported by these really cool interval combinations of a second and a fourth. So that's what's happening in the first 4 bars. Then in the second 4 bars, we're encountering a new chord, and that is a half diminished chord. And so for this one, it doesn't really fit the minor pentatonic or major pentatonic notes available. So we're going to switch gears for a second and focus on what some people call a Khomoi pentatonic. Some people call it the soul scale, minor 6 pentatonic. There's different names for this, but it's basically just like a major pentatonic, but with a lowered third. So if we were going to do this in A, for example, we've got A, 1, B, 2, C, flat 3, E is a 5, and F sharp is a 6, and then back to home. So it's just like an A major pentatonic or any major pentatonic, but with a lowered third. And when we play through the inversions of that, that will accommodate minor 6 sounds as well as half diminished sounds. So what we're going to do here, and this is really cool because it makes it easier, for the first 4 bars we're thinking B minor pentatonic, and we've built pentatonic voicings from that particular scale. Then when it goes to G sharp minor 7 flat 5, now we're still going to be thinking B, but B Khomoi. So now that scale, instead of minor pentatonic of this, becomes this. 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6, 1. So over G sharp half diminished, now we have these sounds. And that's built from the B Khomoi. Whatever position you're in, you can find it 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6, 1. So this is a chord structure built from B Khomoi, which also works over G sharp half diminished. And then we're going right up to B. And those are all notes found within that minor 6 pentatonic scale sound. So that's a really cool device. All right, we're shifting gears again to accommodate F sharp minor 7. So let's just think F sharp minor pentatonic, which is the same as A major pentatonic, but let's just think F sharp minor. So far, we have these different chord changes, but it's pretty easy to conceptualize. We just have B minor pentatonic chords, and then B Khomoi chords, and now we're into F sharp minor pentatonic chords. So those are all outlined in the next 4 bars. Then our next chord is D7 sus 4, and for that we can actually use A minor pentatonic. So in other areas of this course, as well as the companion course for this, Modern Jazz Palettes Improv, a common upper structure substitution is to take a minor seventh chord or a minor triad even built on the fifth degree of a dominant chord, and that will give us a sus sound. So this chord is a D7 sus, and that means that A minor triads will work for chords, A minor sevenths, and in this case, the A minor pentatonic. So we are just building little chord fragments that ascend using A minor pentatonic or C major pentatonic scale structures. It's just going right through the A minor pentatonic scale, 3 notes stacked on top of each other. So that's what's happening in those 4 bars. Now we get to our 8-bar section of like an E Lydian sound. The chord symbol says E major 7 sharp 11, but we're just going to be thinking of Lydian sounds through this. So a great way to explore that would just be using these structures built on fourths and seconds that kind of are evocative of the Lydian scale. So we're kind of pivoting back and forth between C sharp minor pentatonic and D sharp minor pentatonic to get those sounds of a major 7 sharp 11. And then D sharp minor pentatonic. Stack those and we're in business to create some chord fragments. All right, moving into the B section, now we have a little bit of a busier harmonic section here with those half-step movements between A flat 7 and A7. So let's keep it simple. And here we're just kind of reverting to a strategy that involves using some of these ninth chord structures that we saw earlier in this course, just to kind of get us through. So that's all that's happening in these next 8 bars are just variations on ninth chord voicings, even just straight triad voicing. So I think those are pretty obvious to see. Moving into the C section, now we have this kind of slowly descending chord progression. So a great thing to tap into for that, of the first 2 chords you notice are E major 7 and C sharp minor 7. So those are related chords. We could be thinking E major pentatonic or C sharp minor pentatonic, same thing. So let's just go ahead and think C sharp minor because it's easier. And so for those 4 measures, we're just basically coming up with 4 note stacked chord voicings that are built on a C sharp minor pentatonic. So all of those voicings are part of that scale. And those will work beautifully over both of those chords. Then we move to another half diminished chord, in this case a B flat minor 7 flat 5. So our formula is, if this is our root, B flat, we can go up a minor third, in this case D flat, and that's our home base for the Kamoi or the minor 6 pentatonic scale. So we are going to build chords using notes from that scale. And then we're just gonna play a straight up E flat 9 chord, and then as kind of a chromatic approach, getting into A flat minor 7, we're just going to use a half step approach of an A7 or A major pentatonic. And this is really coming from kind of like a tritone substitution. If we were to put a tritone sub in place of the E flat 7, that would be an A7 chord. So similarly, we can substitute A major pentatonic and come up with a chord structure. And that actually kind of works. It's a nice, interesting sound over E flat. It's not really an altered sound. It's not really the sound of a tritone sub. It's something different. And I think it's something that's really nice to kind of set up that A flat minor 9. So that's always fun to do. Take the half step above where you're going and then build chord fragments from that major pentatonic scale, in this case A major pentatonic. All right, moving through this, we're just continuing to build voicings out of a pentatonic scale. Notice that, for example, E major 7, and then, moving down D sharp minor 7, C sharp minor 7. Those, again, are basically E major and C sharp minor chords. So we're just going to use ideas built from those respective pentatonic scales, and that's all that's happening. The one time that we deviate from that is the C7 sharp 11. So since we've arrived at this voicing for the C sharp minor 7, all I did there was just simply voice lead that to capture the Lydian dominant sound. That's a great voicing for that chord. It is a C13 with a 9 and a sharp 11. And then we'll end where we started, with a nice voicing built from a combination of B minor pentatonic and F sharp minor pentatonic, which is the 5th of B, and we have this voicing. So again, if we were going to continue comping on this, for B minor 7, your choices of chord fragments could be built from the B minor pentatonic as well as F sharp minor pentatonic, the 5th of that particular chord, and you can combine those to come up with some really unique sounds, such as this one. And the colors and textures that are created from those types of voicings, I think really fit a song like this, a chord progression like this. It fits with the spirit of modern jazz, maybe a little more closely than traditional, more classic jazz chord voicing vocabulary. So take your time, really explore these pentatonic scales, and take the time to wrap your head around it when you take a look at a chord progression, analyze it, and always start with the path of least resistance. Just look at a simple way to get through these chords, apply the correct pentatonic, and then start building voices from that pentatonic scale. And before you know it, you'll be making beautiful sounds in a modern jazz context.